Congress is hauling the Clintons into the Epstein probe. NASA wants a nuclear reactor on the moon by 2030. And new data shows how American jobs have dramatically shifted over the past 20 years. And the trivia question, what is the car door maneuver known as the Dutch reach? It's Wednesday, August 6th. This is the Flyover Podcast. Welcome to the Flyover Podcast, taking you above the noise for an unbiased, high-altitude view of today's headlines with daily coverage that's honest and refreshing. Let's cruise the news and land the facts. Good morning and welcome to the Flyover Podcast. I'm your weekday host, Ayla Brown. It's halfway through the work week. How was the beginning of your week? Let's finish strong and take off with the biggest headlines of the day. First up, the Clintons have been subpoenaed. The House Oversight Committee, led by Republican Chair James Comer, is digging into how the federal government handled Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. They've subpoenaed Bill and Hillary Clinton, multiple former FBI directors, and 6 former U.S. attorneys general. The committee is also demanding the Justice Department hand over all unredacted Epstein records by August 19th. Depositions are scheduled to begin August 18th and run through mid-October. Hillary Clinton's is set for October 9th, and Bill Clinton's for October 14th. Comer says the goal is to push for reform around sex trafficking laws and plea deals. As for Ghislaine Maxwell, her testimony is on hold pending a Supreme Court appeal. Next, NASA's pushing the nuclear button on the moon. They've just fast-tracked a plan to install a nuclear reactor on the lunar surface by 2030. The reactor would power future moon bases during the long lunar nights where solar energy won't cut it, and would generate at least 100 kilowatts of electricity. NASA's acting administrator Sean Duffy says this is as much about national security as it is science. The U.S. wants to beat China and Russia to the punch, especially since there are growing fears that competing nations could try to claim territory or set up keep-out zones. And finally, what we do for work in America is shifting. A new chart tracks job changes since 2002. Office and admin roles have dropped significantly, down from 18% of the workforce to just 12%, mostly thanks to automation. Meanwhile, jobs in food service, logistics, and healthcare support are all on the rise. Tech, finance, and management have also seen a slight bump, signaling a slow but steady shift toward more specialized, knowledge-based careers. Here are your top political headlines. First, President Trump is taking aim at Big Pharma. On Tuesday, he threatened to impose a tariff as high as 250% on imported pharmaceuticals, saying the goal is to bring drug manufacturing back to the U.S. It's part of a broader push to reshore critical industries, but critics warn it could raise prescription costs in the short term. Next, there's some good news on crime. The FBI's latest annual report shows that violent and property crimes dropped across the board in 2024. Murders were down nearly 15%, and motor vehicle thefts fell more than 18%. In fact, overall property crime hit its lowest level since 1961. And finally, the Justice Department is cracking down on so-called sanctuary jurisdictions. They've named 35 cities, counties, and states that they say aren't cooperating with federal immigration enforcement, and the DOJ is threatening lawsuits. On the list, major cities like New York, Seattle, and San Francisco, along with 12 states that have passed sanctuary policies. The Flyover isn't just another news outlet. We're rebuilding trust in journalism from the ground up. With more than 2.6 million readers and growing fast, we're proving there's a real appetite for news that's honest, unfiltered, and free from coastal groupthink. You already know what makes us different. You've listened, watched, and read our work. You've shared it, and you've supported it. And now you have a chance to actually own a piece of it. Unlike most startups chasing revenue, the Flyover is already generating more than $500,000 per month, proof that our model works. This is a business with real traction and even bigger plans ahead, including new products, partnerships, and rapid expansion. This isn't a Silicon Valley experiment or a media buyout in disguise. It's a people-powered movement built for and by listeners and readers who care about the country they live in. So join the mission where truth takes flight and readers take ownership. Go to invest.jointheflyover.com. In making an investment decision, investors must rely on their own examination of the issuer and the terms of this offering, including the merits and risks involved. The Flyover has filed a Form C with the Securities and Exchange Commission in connection with its offering, a copy of which may be obtained at invest.jointheflyover.com. Here are some bonus stories just for listeners of the Flyover podcast that you're not going to find in the email edition. One of Vladimir Putin's alleged secret daughters is breaking her silence. Elizaveta Krivonogic, who's long been rumored to be his child, posted a cryptic message on Telegram calling out, quote, "the man who took millions of lives and destroyed mine." She's now 22, living in Paris under a new name and working in the art world, but her comments are adding fuel to the fire of speculation around Putin's inner circle and family ties. Her mother, by the way, was sanctioned by the UK for Kremlin connections. Next, ever wonder why your clothes shrink in the wash? Turns out natural fibers like cotton and wool are stretched during manufacturing, and when you throw them in hot, wet spin cycles, they snap back into their original shape. Wool is especially tricky since its fibers latch together like Velcro. Synthetic fabrics, on the other hand, don't really shrink because they're made with more stable polymers, okay? So bonus tip, you can sometimes unshrink your favorite shirt by soaking it in water with hair conditioner and gently stretching it back into shape. There you go. And finally, a neurologist is cutting through the noise with 2 simple tips for better brain health. Move more and eat less. Dr. J.D. Bott says regular exercise and smaller meals are key to preventing dementia, especially when paired with screenings for hearing loss and high blood pressure. He's studied patterns from countries like Ghana and Uganda, where portion control and limited alcohol help protect long-term cognitive health. That's your podcast extra roundup. From AI-trained spiders to prefab houses and Amazon boxes, plus why Saquon Barkley said, "Thanks, but no thanks" to President Trump's Fitness Council. All that and more coming right up. In finance, credit card debt just hit another record. Americans now owe a collective $1.21 trillion on their credit cards. That's up 2.3% from last quarter, and officially the highest it's ever been. Experts say it's a sign that inflation and rising costs are still squeezing household budgets. Meanwhile, more homeowners are saying forget it to selling. The number of homes delisted from the market jumped 47% in May compared to last year. Rather than lowering their asking prices, sellers are pulling their listings, leaving buyers with even fewer choices. And if you're a fan of Fox News, sports, or their primetime lineup, Fox is bundling it all into one new streaming service. It's called Fox One, launches August 21st, and it'll cost you $19.99 a month. Think of it as Fox's answer to Disney Plus and Peacock, except with a cable-style spin. Here's your stock market update from yesterday. All 3 major indexes were in the red. The Nasdaq dropped 0.65%, S&P 500 slipped 0.49%, and the Dow Jones ticked down 0.14%. Bitcoin also dipped slightly, down about 0.38% to just under $114,000. Gold, however, climbed again, up 1.76% to over $3,430 an ounce. So the big stock move of the day, that goes to Xometry. Shares of the on-demand manufacturing company soared nearly 43% after reporting better than expected quarterly earnings. In sports, first up, Saquon Barkley is keeping politics off the field. The Philadelphia Eagles running back said he was, quote, shocked to be offered a spot on President Trump's newly revived Council on Sports, Nutrition, and Fitness, and he turned it down. Barkley did not elaborate, but said he prefers to focus on football. Meanwhile, Novak Djokovic is sitting this one out. The Serbian tennis legend just announced he's withdrawing from the Cincinnati Open this weekend with a non-medical reason, marking his second straight withdrawal after also skipping the Canadian Masters. While specifics weren't disclosed, media reports suggest the 38-year-old is managing lingering groin and fatigue issues following his Wimbledon semifinal loss to the world's number one, Jannik Sinner. He's won the tournament 3 times before, but fans can still expect to see him at the U.S. Open later this month. And finally, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have signed former NFL quarterback Teddy Bridgewater to a deal just days after he was suspended from his high school coaching role in Florida. Bridgewater, who had been head coach at Miami Northwestern High School, was suspended for using his own money to help players with things like Uber rides, pregame meals, and team gear. Support he openly admitted and self-reported. Despite the setback, he's now back in the NFL, joining the Bucs as backup behind Baker Mayfield. In science and tech, a man with ALS has become the first person to control an iPad with just his thoughts. Using a brain implant and Apple's brand new neural interface, he was able to move the cursor and open apps completely hands-free. It's a huge step forward in accessibility tech and brain-computer connection. You can read more about that in the show notes below. Meanwhile, scientists have discovered 4 brand new species of tarantulas across the Arabian Peninsula and the Horn of Africa. And they're not your average creepy crawlies. These spiders have unusually large male reproductive organs, leading researchers to create a new spider category called Statorex. Let's just say these guys aren't shy. And finally, the AI company Anthropic has developed what they're calling a behavioral vaccine for AI. Basically, they train their models by intentionally exposing them to bad behavior, things like lying or bias. So the AI learns how to not adopt those traits later. Think of it like a dose of digital tough love during training. Now for a few stories that don't quite fit anywhere else. Jack Daniel's just dropped a new Tennessee Blackberry whiskey, blending its classic Old No. 7 with juicy blackberry notes. So if you like your bourbon with a fruity finish, this might be your new summer sip. Meanwhile, a YouTuber went viral for buying a $39,000 prefab house on Amazon. Showed up in a massive box with windows, a toilet, and a shower. But no electrical wiring, so not exactly move-in ready. Next, a new Bank of America survey shows that over half of Gen Z adults spend nothing, zero, on dating each month. So no fancy dinners, no overpriced drinks. About 2/3 say they're totally fine turning down social plans that they cannot afford. And most are focused on better money habits instead. And finally, speaking of the youngins, experts say friendships across generations like Gen Z hanging out with boomers can actually boost your mental and physical health. They help reduce loneliness, ease social comparison, and bring totally different perspectives to the table. Turns out wisdom and memes go pretty well together. You can read more about that amazing partnership in the show notes below. Maybe it'll inspire some of you. We've made it to the polls, so here's yesterday's poll question and the results. What time of the day do you usually read the Flyover? 91% of you said morning. Wow. 3% said afternoon, another 3% said evening, and another 3% said other. Thank you to everyone who voted. Here's the question for the polls today. Should the U.S. build nuclear reactors on the moon? Yes? No? Or not sure? I personally don't think so at all. I think the world needs to chill with the nuclear threats and the world domination. That's just my 2 cents, of course, but maybe I'm in the minority. You can vote in today's show notes. And for today's trivia question, what is the car door maneuver known as the Dutch reach? Well, the answer is the Dutch reach is really just a safer way to open your car door to avoid hitting cyclists. So instead of using your left hand on the driver's side, which is what I think most of us do, you actually use your right hand. And if you're watching me on the podcast, I am demonstrating, but it forces you to twist your body and look over your shoulder, giving you a clear view of any approaching bikes. It's taught in the Netherlands and helps prevent accidents known as dooring. My dad actually got in a bicycle accident one time because the state trooper did not do the Dutch reach and didn't see my dad coming and just opened the door, and my dad went right into him. Luckily, everyone was fine, but he had a lot of knee problems after that. Anyways, that's it for the Flyover podcast for today. Thank you so much for watching, listening, sharing, and rating. 5-star reviews are the only reviews we love, by the way. Don't forget, you can now invest in the Flyover. Learn more about that at invest.jointheflyover.com. I actually will not be in tomorrow or Thursday because I'm celebrating my 4-year wedding anniversary with my husband, and it's also my son's 3rd birthday this weekend. It'll be a surprise guest filling in for me tomorrow and Thursday, and then Amy Hess will meet up with you on Friday for the Feel Good Flyover and then take you through the weekend. I'll see you on Monday. Thanks for flying with us.